Okay, so let's implement Python functions. In the previous video, we have understood the core definition of Python. We have understood keywords like def, which is available to declare your functions, use your function. We also understood how they can be internally called. So, if you have not watched that video, please watch that interesting video. Description link is in the description. And yes, subscribe this channel if you have not subscribed yet because you'll keep on getting these interesting videos. Thank you. So, coming back to our discussion, so let's take one example. Maybe we can take, let's create a program, create a definition to add two numbers. Okay, so this example will help you explain everything that is possible with the help of functions in Python. So stay tuned and keep watching. And if you have Jupyter open in your machine, just open that and try running this in parallel, or maybe you can follow this and then try later. And if you don't know how to install Anaconda, watch the first video of the series to understand that as well. Okay, so what I will do is I will take the keyword that is inbuilt called as def, and we'll give the name as get uh, uh, find sum or find op, something like that. And then syntax is this: keyword, name of the function, braces, colon, and then I will do something. A is equals to 1, B is equals to 22, and they're saying to create a definition to add two numbers. So I will say sum is equals to, or maybe m sum is equals to a plus b, and as usual I will print m sum with a beautiful message: the sum of two given numbers is this. Okay, now very simple, very beautiful. Let's understand. Definition: def keyword is inbuilt. Find name is a name that you can take of your own choice. There are certain rules that you should follow that I will just let you know. But yes, by default, you should consider this as a variable rule. So most of the things have been sorted. So you remember we have understood in the variables also that what is being allowed and what is not being allowed when you're naming that variables. That is a concept that we can follow unless there are certain exceptions that we will keep on learning. Now, this colon is mandatory and this indentation is mandatory. So indentation is something which we have already understood by now. So this is important, and these are the two variables that I have taken, a and b, and then m sum is equals to a plus b and print it. Now if I run this piece of code, what happens? No output, right? If you say no, let me just print some message. Hello, this is definition example, something like that. If I run this, I get this message as printed, but this print is not getting executed because this is a piece of code which is written inside this definition, which is still not invoked. Okay, when I say invoked, that means it has to be called upon. So if you're not calling, then interpreter will not run this. It will wait for you to just call it. So to do that, number one thing, call the function. What I will do is I will write find underscore op. Now you have the magic that this function is being called. So how does interpreter process this? It starts from top, it prints this message, it says there's a definition. Okay, it will just pass on this definition, it will go to the next line and it will say, okay, one of the given definition is being called upon, let me see whether that is available. And it will see that find op named definition is available, and it will go inside that, it will process this and then print whatever it is. Now, let's do some mistake. So if I call, instead of op, I call op underscore 1, I will not have that function available in the scope of this program. So it will say that is not being defined. Okay, so that's an error. So function definition has to be there. What if I call this function right above the definition? That means declaration. So if I run this, I will see that this is also getting executed. So declaration is this part This is the declaration or definition building that I'm doing, and calling can happen from the top of the definition or maybe from the bottom of the definition. In some of the programming language, we have that level of restriction that body of the function should be above the main from the area you're calling that function. Okay, but ethically we have been following this practice only, so I always call functions after it is being defined in the code, or maybe if you are using a package, then they are imported from that package. Now, next thing, two things we have understood. One is that how you need to call that function. Second is that functions should exist, right? Then let's understand passing the variables. Very interesting. Passing the variables. So how do you do that? So in the same, if I say find underscore op and I start passing two variables 4 comma 5, then these two variables should be accepted inside this function also, right? So now what is happening is this is a variable definition with variables, and this is a definition without variables. So technically they are two different functions. So how to validate that? If you run this, you will see that find op takes zero positional argument, but two are given. Simple. So it is saying that this find op is not accepting any variable, but you're passing to two different variables, right? So I should either uh, accept these values here, then I will not have that error. But I will have the error for this, because now it will say find op x needs two required position, but passing is being null. So from here I'm not passing anything. So now if I comment this and if I run this, I will see that my a and b 4 and 5 are being passed here and being assigned to a is equals to 4 and b is equals to 5. That means in the order they are being sent, the same order they are being assigned to. But you see the answer is still dependent on these variables, because I am not consuming this. A is being reassigned here as 11. Or maybe let me do one thing. I'll say C and D. Now, if I find this sum C comma D, and if I just say C plus D, now you will see that magic, that C 4 plus 5 equals to 9. So, okay, you have declared these extra variables. Nobody is stopping you to do that. But I am processing with the variables which are being passed by the function who is calling on the function on the location who is calling this function. Now let's understand. So what has grown in this program that I can get rid of these two variables because I don't need this. This function is something which is dependent on certain two variables. Okay, if the variables are given, then it will find the sum. Else it will not find the sum. Okay, it will give some errors, so which we can handle with the try and catch exceptions, which we will learn in future. But for now, this function is dependent on two variables. So I can keep on calling this function with multiple values, let's say 5 comma 6. So I will see two kind of results. First function when was called with 4 and 5 gave me 9, and second function when was called with 5 and 6 gave me 11. Okay, now there are other things also. So let's say if I am calling as something like this. Okay, and now if I am calling find underscore op without any variables, then also it will not give error. Something has changed now. Why? Because now I have declared this line with certain default variables, which means that if you're not passing anything to me, which means if you're not passing anything to me, then I will take my default value. C is equals to 1 is my default value, and D is equals to 1 is my default value. And if you pass something like I'm doing in the second call, there's 4 is being passed and then 5 is being passed, then C and D will be replaced with the 4 and 5. Understood? This is really interesting. Okay, now we have understood calling the function. We have understood passing the variables. Let's understand this conceptually. Passing the variables. Now return from the functions. How do you understand the return from the function? So this sum can be returned to the party who is calling me. Let's say return m sum. So what I will do is at this point I am receiving this here. M sum is equals to this, And now in this second also I am receiving m sum is equals to this, and here also I am returning m sum is equals to this. Now every function is expecting its independent result, and that is necessary because you may have to process it further. It's not that you only have to find the sum. Maybe further you have to call another function, or maybe you have to multiply that number with something or something or something, right? So that's why you have received this. Now if I run this again, I will not have any printing done. Understand the magic of return. So return does not go beyond its return line, which means that after this return, whatever you have written will not be executed. So that is of no use now. So I will just cut this, and now I will keep printing for all the guys because they are working independently now. Okay, now my function has become shortened by 3 lines only. Okay, now after every calling of the function, I'm receiving it back into one of my own variable, and I'm just printing them. So if I do this, now I have the answer. So now understand two sections of the code. Now one section is this, which is this definition, and the another section is called from where you are processing your function. And this print in the beginning is just for the dummy, right? So only these 3 lines are there, 1 and 2. Okay, I hope I was able to explain this. So if I revise, then definition, calling the definitions of functions with passing variables, calling the function with the static default values, or maybe without any values, or maybe and then taking a return from the function. If you have one value return, there is two value return also, and even lists can be returned. So that is what we will do in further examples. We are going to go very long with this Python functions. With the help of this, we will revise every older topics, if and else, what everything will come into inside this, because functions is a collective usage of all this. Okay. Okay, so guys, in the next video we'll take one another example which will be more realistic and more close to us, so that we are able to understand this more. Do subscribe the channel again, please, in case you have not subscribed. And if you like the video, do like the channel. Please press the like button. Share the video with your friends if they are interested in learning. Thank you so much. Take care. Bye.